Now, after 8 years of delays and legal battles, the South African court has acquitted Pastor Timothy Omotoso and his two accused. Omotoso was accused of luring female congregants to his church, forcing them to perform sexual acts and restricting their freedom to leave. Gqeberha High Court Judge Irma Schoeman conceded that although she could not conclude that the evidence given by the complainants were untrue, the state had failed to prove Omotoso guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, this case has been dragging since 2018, including applications filed by Omotoso's legal team to have the trial declared a mistrial. Now, for more on this, I have Sydney Monnakgotla joining me from South Africa. Sydney is the president of Save South Africa. Thank you, Sydney, for joining us on the news. All right, Sydney, if you can hear me, what was your first reaction when you heard about Pastor Omotoso's acquittal?
Hi, this is not Sydney. This is Gqeberha Masango from Not In My Name International. Sydney is not myself.
All right, my sincere apologies. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Gqeberha Masango, Not In My Name International.
All right, thank you, Gqeberha Masango. Thank you for joining us. So would you like to share your thoughts on your first reaction when you heard about the pastor's acquittal?
Well, we feel that this was a real miscarriage of justice because the case was not necessarily failed due to the lack of truth of the victims. It was because the prosecutors did not bring their A game to the trial itself. As Judge Schoeman put down her judgment, she was scathing to the prosecuting team, who were incompetent, who were very, very lenient on the side of the perpetrator. And this has caused for the case to fail, because a court of law can only go with clear facts that has been forwarded to the court, and there has to be clear evidence beyond reasonable doubt, and the prosecuting team failed to do that. However, that does not say that the victims were not speaking the truth. It does not say that the victims that went through the atrocities that the pastor allegedly took them through were not true. It was a matter of technicalities, and we respect the law, and we accept the case, and we know that one day there is a greater judge that will judge us all.
So did you feel that the verdict was surprising or expected based on the trial?
The verdict was surprising. However, due to the incompetence of the prosecuting team, it was expected that so-called Timothy Pastor Omotoso will then obviously get to walk free because of the incompetence of the prosecutorial team. It was not because of whether the allegations and the case that was brought against him was true or not. It was whether or not these people could prosecute in the right way. They could prosecute competently, and obviously the judge and the court does not look at other issues. They look at what is brought to them. The judge even said that you had 9 days to prosecute and cross-examine the alleged perpetrator, and the prosecution team didn't do that, and that is why we have called on the judiciary and powers that be to look into the conduct of the prosecutorial team and actually make sure that they check whether there was no foul play in actually getting Omotoso freedom.
All right. Now, in your opinion, what were the strengths or the weaknesses of the prosecution's case against Pastor Omotoso?
Well, the clear weaknesses were that 9 days was given to cross-examine the so-called pastor and to check whether his testimony rings true. The prosecutorial team did not do that. Furthermore, there was no clarity from their side with regards to testing the evidence that had been given by victims. So it smells of foul play. However, as I say to you, we accept the ruling of the court because the court can only go with the evidence that is provided and given to them and the cross-examination that is done. And if a prosecutorial team is incompetent and weak, there's nothing that the court can do but to apply the law. And in this case, that there was no evidence that says beyond reasonable doubt that Timothy Omotoso was guilty of whatever he was brought forward to. However, he knows in his heart of hearts what the truth is. And if he's a so-called genuine pastor and he believes that there is a judgment that is coming for us all, he must know where I is.
All right, Masango, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this.